Kay will be coming shortly.
Okay. At least I can see
Did
it.
the agenda change since I printed it last night?
The only thing I had to change was I had to update there was a typo on the number for the auditor, and that was it.
All right, so I can use what I printed home?
Yep.
Okay.
So there's that.
Okay.
Saying that over and
What?
over again. It's something like that, but if they're not gonna help to get rid of S2 for the regional, I don't know what to say. I know, there's really.
Yeah. Yep.
What? Your job is okay.
Oh, God bless you.
Oh, I hope so. Because no, they would already had a job. Considering what I do.
Thank you.
You just let me know when it starts. So we have to tell them to start the
I
cameras?
worked with Dr. Cipriani. Yeah. And it's
Hey, Ray.
a lot. We did
Are you guys on?
But it's good.
All right,
It worked.
we can go.
We can start. Can they hear me? I guess that's when it's closer, right? Better? Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me? Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order. The mission of the Freehold Township Schools in partnership with our community is to prepare all students to be responsible citizens and lifelong learners. A notice, can't hear me. A notice listing the time, date, and place of this meeting was posted on the public bulletin board of all Freehold Township schools, on the entrance door to the administrative offices of the Board of Education, on the district website, at the office of the Freehold Township clerk, published in the Asbury Park Press on January 8, 2021, and sent to the news transcript on January 6, 2021. Notice of the location change was posted on the public bulletin board of all Freehold Township schools, on the entrance door to the administrative offices of the Board of Education, on the district website, published in the Asbury Park Press on June 5, 2021, and sent to the news transcript on June 6, 2021. I'd like to invite whoever would like to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call.
Mr. Amoroso? Mrs. Costanza?
Here.
Mrs. Cozzolino? Mrs. Holtz? Mrs. O'Sullivan? Mrs. Spellman?
Present.
All right. Mrs. Vendatoli?
Here.
Mrs. Patton? Present. Mrs. Lambert?
Present.
We have a quorum.
Okay. I'd like a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes from May 25th, 2021.
So moved.
Okay, you have that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? No? Okay. I'd like a motion to approve the executive session meeting minutes from May 25th, 2021.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. And no, no abstentions. Okay. Enrollment.
For enrollment, April of 2021, we had 3,619 students. For May of 21, we had 3,622. And May of 2020, we're at 3,714.
Thank you. For President's remarks this evening, I'd like to thank all of you who are joining us in our first live meeting. We also thank you for your patience while we tried to get the technology together to continue to live stream our meetings for those at home that wanted to continue to view the meetings from home. They liked the format, and we had a very large turnout with a lot of people, so it was nice to keep the community together. I know there are some people who are upset that the meeting isn't a dual format with people joining us from home who are calling in with public participation. I'm just asking for your patience as we work through this because we would like to continue to do some type of live format going forward. We have to figure that all out. But once our board meetings are live, we follow the live format here. In addition, I want to acknowledge that every member of this board has received numerous emails regarding issues in the district with regard to masks, no masks. We saw your emails, we read your emails. What you have to understand is there are over 3,600 students in this district. For every email we received asking us to remove a mask mandate, we received an email asking us to keep it in place because parent felt that that was what was safe for their child. I will tell you that neither of those are how this board operates, and most importantly, how this district operates. Mr. Dickstein will elaborate further on the thought process and the rules and how we followed them from day one. And I want every member of the public here to know that whatever decisions the superintendent makes regarding this district, he has this board's support. What we personally believe as 9 individual members, as an individual person, as a citizen, is one thing. The decisions that we make sitting in this chair for the benefit of over 3,600 students may be another. Regardless, we support Mr. Dickstein wholeheartedly in whatever decisions he makes for this district moving forward. So with that said, I'll move on to the administrative report.
Good evening. This evening, we're going to start, as I have the privilege of recognizing our staff members who have completed 25 years of service in the Freehold Township School District. Throughout that time, they've contributed to the outstanding educational program provided in the district. They've dedicated this time to help the children who have passed through their classrooms learn and grow academically and socially. I'm proud to share that the following staff members completing the most recent 25 years of their careers in Freehold Township are, and if they're here, please stand. I know several responded that they would be remote. From the Laura Donovan School, Tammy Campfield. From the West Freehold School, Trish Diaz. From Applegate School, Giselle Dombronsky. From the Eisenhower School, Elaine Gardner. From the Eisenhower School, Melissa Stager. And from the Donovan School, Trish Woods. And I'd like to thank Mrs. Diaz for joining us this evening and recognize her for outstanding service. Many people are aware of the announcement made via Twitter from Governor Murphy. His statement reiterated information that has been in the roadback document since its inception. Since our schools are air-conditioned, it seemed logical that the provision for making masks optional during excessive heat for health reasons did not apply in Freehold Township. Therefore, it was determined that students and staff would not be required to wear masks outdoors or on school buses for the remainder of the school year. To my surprise, many school districts across the state began interpreting the guidance differently. Some superintendents determined that masks were required in air-conditioned spaces, but optional in non-air-conditioned spaces. Later last evening and throughout the day today, more superintendents began making masks optional regardless of whether or not their schools were air-conditioned. I conferred with our board attorney, discussed the confusion that seems to be across the state, resulting in districts implementing different practices regarding masking. Later today, we also received a clarifying email from the Department of Education that was more wordy, but reiterated exactly what the governor had said. It wasn't helpful. Although I do not believe it was his intent to modify the executive order mandating masks in school, the governor used language that is vague and broad. Who defines excessive heat? Is excessive heat the actual temperature, the heat index? Is humidity factored in? Does the status of air conditioning even need to be taken into consideration? My rationale regarding our practices relative to COVID from the beginning of the pandemic have been based upon my obligation to abide by the law. Regardless of opinion, the content of executive orders are required to be implemented. I felt obligated to reevaluate our practices because of the ambiguity in the governor's recent message. Therefore, effective tomorrow, masks will be optional for staff and students when inside the schools.
Not torturing children anymore. Not abusing them.
Thank you. Students and staff will be required to wear masks in hallways during arrival, when transitioning in the hallways throughout the day, and when in the hallways during dismissal, since they are large gathering areas. Additionally, classrooms using desk barriers will continue to use them throughout the last day of school. Staff and students who prefer to continue wearing masks during the school day are still welcome to do so. And at this point, I will be sending out a communication later this evening to all of our staff members. They have not been informed yet, and all of our community. But honestly, this was going on from the time that we left today until this board meeting. I printed this at 7 o'clock, going back and forth between the considerations. At the end of the day, the rationale has been the legal obligation, and you can't change your rationale midway when it's convenient. So we do believe it is the obligation ethically to do this. Thank you. And to conclude the administrative report, we do have to give our bullying report. Since the last meeting, there have been 2 cases of harassment, intimidation, and bullying, and both were founded. Thank you.
Back. This is the first opportunity for public participation. There are 2 opportunities to speak or present a comment to the board. The first opportunity is regarding items that are on the agenda tonight only. The second opportunity is for any item you'd like to address the board with. This first opportunity for public participation, if you wish to address the board. Where's the podium? Oh, okay. Please go to the podium, state your name and full address for the record. Your statement should be limited to 3 minutes in length and should not be abusive, obscene, or defamatory in nature. So if anyone would like to address the board, please feel free to do so.
I hear it.
I think you just have to go real close. Take your COVID on.
Thank you. Can you hear me? All right. I just want to clarify, am I able to ask a question, or can I only make a
State your
statement?
name and address, please.
George Falcone, 510 East Freehold Road, Freehold, New Jersey. Am I able to ask a question, or?
You can ask a question, yes.
So just to clarify, you are making masks optional while the students are in the classrooms, just not in the hallways?
Correct.
Okay. And I just want to say, as a parent, I interacted with you and Ms. Lambert I'm sure you're aware of our interaction. I want to say thank you. Thank you for hearing us. Thank you for listening. And I had a whole bunch of information, which I'm sure you already have, about how harmful this is emotionally, psychologically, physically for our children. But you guys stepped up today, and I want to say thank you.
Thank you.
And my son actually, he's been sent home 6 or 7 times with headaches, vomiting. We pinpointed it to the time where he started wearing masks. He actually has a genetic disorder that contributes to that. So he'll probably want to say thank you too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for not letting me wear the mask.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, and I thank you for hearing us, and thank you for taking action. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
Good evening. Lisa Johnston. I do live in Freehold, but I'm here as the Freehold Township Education Association President. One of the items on the agenda was our 25-year recipients. So as the president-elect, right now vice president, as of July 1st, president of the Freehold Township Education Association, I just wanted to say congratulations to all of our staff members that have been here for 25 years. Thank you so much for all that you do for our students, for our community, for our administration, It's been a heck of a year and a half. We're almost there. We're not dropping the ball. And you took that 25 years of experience and just turned on a dime and kept it going. So thank you to all of our staff members, but especially tonight to those that are celebrating 25 years with us. Thank you so much.
Anybody else? Okay.
Hi, my name is Paul Gilardi. I live at 231 Round Hill Drive in Freehold. I wrote this before, obviously, the announcement you make, but although that is clearly talking about what's happening for the rest of the school year, I think what I wrote is applicable to the upcoming year as well, because I don't know what you plan to do for that. So again, my name is Paul Gilardi. I'm a father of two. My daughter currently attends second grade in West Freehold School. I'm not here today to discuss the facts and science around masking or how the virus impacts children. That information is readily available and easily searchable. With that said, I'm looking for the school board, our leaders, Neil Dickstein, Michelle Lambert, to take a stronger public stand against the masking, different than the letter that was sent previously. Because again, this is talking about the upcoming school years. So masks are not required for children anywhere but schools right now. I don't understand why schools are the anomaly or may be an anomaly in the future, and the only exception is impending weather. If mask regulations can be relaxed in part, then clearly they can be relaxed completely. Ultimately, it's parents who should have the choice to how they protect their children, each individual parent, not the schools, and certainly not the government. Our daughter stayed virtual. Our daughter stayed virtual the entire year. We did this to avoid the psychological damage that surrounds the masking of children. Currently, teachers have to constantly interrupt class to police the children. They keep friends away from each other, and they have to consistently remind the kids to put the mask and keep it above their mouth and their noses. All of this while trying to give our kids a proper education. This has created an environment that is more like a juvenile detention center. It forces good-hearted educators to act as prison guards, soils the teacher-student relationship, and detracts from the educational experience overall. As I mentioned, we kept our child at school this year, but the virtual option goes away in September. So what happens to families like mine without the virtual option? I ask you, do you believe that you should get masked or force vaccination or go somewhere else? From a documented email from Neil Dickstein to another parent, it would seem to indicate that you do. When a parent reached out with similar concerns, Mr. Dickstein replied saying there were plenty of private schools, but that is not a proper response. We relocated to Freehold from New York City. In large part of that was due to our children getting a better education. And now we find ourselves unable to take advantage of this due to policies that are not based on science or logic. We annually pay $10,000 in taxes that specifically go towards schools, and you receive funding from each child that is enrolled. Again, talking about the future, if a stand is not taken in favor of bodily autonomy, you will see an exodus of children from the schools, and you will see a reduction in funding. Our children are not just a number to us, and as cliche as it may sound, they are our future. They are entitled to a free and fair education by the New Jersey Constitution, and it should be an environment that considers their physical and emotional well-being as well. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
So your question, when you prefaced it, it was about next year. We are expecting, I believe it's going to be called the Road Forward, a guidance document from the New Jersey Department of Education, allegedly by the end of June, that is going to, it's supposed to provide guidance. I don't know what that guidance will say. And as far as advocating, it's not all public. So yeah, that the letter to the governor and the joint letters from the Monmouth County superintendents were made public. But there's times that we're advocating where the public's not aware. We have been advocating with our local legislators. We have their cell phone numbers, have been texting. We maintain emails. I shared with some parents within the email that I've emailed and contacted the governor several times with not even an acknowledgement of the letter that I sent it. So we just don't always publicly advertise that we do that. And we do it more often, not just during the pandemic either, when we feel that there's issues. It's ongoing. But during the pandemic, we have been doing it. So, okay. As far as the statement, unfortunately, unfortunately, I know that there's Facebook groups and sometimes things are taken out of context. The comment that you shared in my response to a parent was out of context and not connected to masking. It was simply about values, and if the values of the state New Jersey student learning standards, which we're required to implement, don't match the values, the only alternative, because we are required by law to do that, is to look into private schools. It was not about masking.
My name is Frank Brooks, about 12 Buckingham Way, Freehold. My son Eric is one of the top students in Lord Donovan School, if not the top student in that school. What we witnessed this year with him being completely demoralized to the point we had to pull him and my daughter Megan from the school to start remote, which wasn't working for us either. My daughter Megan is still being homeschooled, will be for the remainder of the year. My son Eric, basically by end of the year, just wanted to spend the last month back in Lord Donovan, just to be able to say goodbye and have some closure. He'd been there since kindergarten. It's the only school he'd ever really know. His mask wearing is killing him. He hates it. He comes home angry every day. And I know you just said that this is going to be voluntary for him to have it, but we're still walking into hallways, into class when it's off, out of class. He's at a baseball game right now where nobody on that field is wearing a mask. They're in a dugout huddled together wearing a mask. We were at a bar not long ago, crowded around playing trivia with a packed bar. Nobody's wearing a mask. Everywhere in this country, let alone this state, we're not playing this game anymore. And to be perfectly honest with you, the COVID threat was over the day they let kids go back to school. We'll put it in perspective. If there was a toxic fume leak in Lower Donovan School, and the school said to you, yeah, it's a deadly leak, and if your kid gets this, it's going to take it home and kill grandma. But we can go to school, just put a mask on, and they'll be fine. Anybody here would have sent your kids to school? Nobody would have sent their kids to school. That threat was over the day that they sent them back to school. We have a kindergarten class that has now spent their entire year without ever seeing a teacher smile at them. Kids that have learning issues, learning to just pronounce words, that have not seen a teacher pronounce their words with a facial expression, not coaxing answers, seeing them smile to them. This has been their introduction to school this year. It's disgusting, all right? This is what these kids have gone through. Now, I witnessed when my son was remote learning, and we had the two cohorts going half the week back and forth, the gym class, where you have the gym teacher remote, the kids at their desk exercising, doing burpees, running in their mask, and the whole time, in between everything, telling the kids, keep your mask on, don't get close to the person next to you, make sure your mask, pull your mask over your nose while they're exerting themselves in class. This is child abuse. This is not. Yes. Very good. As far as following government mandates, this country was founded on a major principle that we the people consent to be governed. When that governance is no longer...
Mr. Brooks, your time is up. Thank you for your time. We received your emails, and we heard what you had to say.
And I want to thank you very much.
Thank
that you
you.
received it.
I'm sorry, his
The time-
3 minutes are up. This is not
There's
the
a
forum
3
for
minutes.
this.
The time
Thank
is
you
up.
very much.
Don't forget, come September, you'll all be segregated. You got your vax, no mask for you. You didn't, your kids will be in a mask. This is right from Murphy's mouth. And they'll enforce
Mr. Brooks, I'm going to ask you to take your seat.
My follow-up is, to that is going to be, My follow-up is going to be, just to clarify, again, I explained from the beginning that we're a local board of education, and I understand what you're saying about the government completely, and that experience that we're not pleased with either, that these children have not seen their teachers and this is their first experience. But we took, as board members, like Mrs. Lambert said, we all have our own opinions. They don't play into our roles in these positions. We take oaths, oath of allegiance when we're hired by the State Department of Education, and oaths to be board members. And we have to abide by those oaths. And today, those are your opinions. I hear you. And that's why we're here. No, your opinion is that we're not putting children first. And if we're going to go through this, there'll be no more responses this evening. I'm trying to explain to you that I've dedicated, it's not personal. My children go to this school district as well. I care about every single one of your kids. I also have to follow the law as a superintendent. And you heard tonight, the first time there was flexibility, I instituted change. So it doesn't matter whether I agree or disagree with statements. I have never shared once my personal opinion regarding this. But the audience, we've communicated even what Mr. Brooks said about September. We understand and are not happy with the fact that some of these children, their first school experience has been with masks 6 feet apart. We don't differ on that opinion. But we are obligated to follow the law, and today, when the first communication came regarding that, we took action today. So please understand that at times where we hear you, and whether we agree or disagree personally, we also need your support in communicating that beyond us. And so when that guidance comes, they need to hear comments like Mr. Brooks, who has spoken today, and I didn't get Gilardi, I don't want to say Gilardi. We need that voice also to go to our local legislators and our governor. I know, and I heard from a couple of people that they also feel that it's falling on deaf ears there. And I'm sending them and not getting acknowledgement from the governor's office. Our local legislators have tried to help. So we have to continue. I respect you being here. We want our community to be more involved with our board. But at this moment, you saw the actions behind the words. We moved forward as soon as we could. Once we took ambiguity from coming out and seeing what was happening, we took action between the end of the day and now to be able to do this. So we hear you, and we are taking action, but we still need your help. And I believe that you're doing that, but we still need help in communicating that beyond. I'm telling you that I am. That letter was just one example, but we need you to continue to do that. I made my request, and it was included in that Monmouth County Superintendent's letter that I contributed to. We asked for no masks in September. That's a clear thing we asked for. So keep it up in the community. We hear you, and we respect your opinions, and we want to hear them, but the authority that we have sometimes is not there. And that's where we need your help in that communication beyond. Feel free to keep emailing. Come to the board meetings, we hear you, but we need your help beyond that as well.
Oh, someone go.
Hi, everyone. I'm Giovanna Dolan, 364 Dartmouth Way. I serve on the board of Laura Donovan School as vice president.
Can you repeat your address, please?
364 Dartmouth Way in Freehold. Thanks for being here. Thanks. It's nice to see everybody and your beautiful smiling faces. So my question for you guys is, since the children have suffered with the masking, with the distancing, with all of those limitations on their natural, instinct to socialize and be together, I believe they've suffered a great deal of psychological damage. And so what can we do as educators and schools and leaders we need a new program. We want a path forward. We need to sort of put all of that happened behind us and now say, how can we undo all of the damage that we all were a part of, not knowing the consequences of that. So for me, I just keep telling my children, you are a person. You are not, you lost your identity wearing this. It's dehumanizing, it's demoralizing. We've talked about that. So as far as social emotional learning, and even in Loredana and the elementary schools, what can parents do? We were shut out of that school. We did not have a presence in our own children's school. We were not allowed in. We were not allowed to watch them play in field day. And why did we let that happen? Because we're trying to abide by the rules too. But what I'm asking for our leaders here today is when you have laws and rules that do not serve us and violate our rights, that's when we need to stand up and be heroes and be courageous. Thank you. And pave the way forward, not follow along with, what's the guy, tell me the way. Let's pave the way. Let's break new ground and say, no, we're going to teach our children how to be individuals, how to have a voice, how to be strong, how to be leaders. And I just hope that it's not too late. I hope that the damage can be undone. So I'm just putting that forward for you guys to think about over the summer. What new programs and PTOs would be happy to implement, any kind of socialization and integration and anything we can do to sort of heal these wounds. So I'm hoping that that's something we'd love to hear feedback from. We'd love to give feedback, I'm sure, and that's my goal, because we can't go back. So let's just, like we said, let's go forward. So thank you for hearing me out, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. So we did, in our Spark program this summer, we made time in the middle of the day for students to engage in those type of activities and social emotional learning. Thank you for pointing out some opportunities. We will institute our PTO liaison group that we didn't have this year due to the pandemic and the need to do it virtually and the limited number of activities that could be implemented. So we will be re-engaging that group. Maybe we'll do it sooner than September to get some input from our PTO leaders in each of the schools. We have every summer we're working to build our social emotional learning curriculum, and we acknowledge from the beginning that school is a social place. We're not only building children's academics, we're building their character and providing them time to socialize with their peers. It's not the rows and desks where you sit all day and just work. It's not our philosophy, and this year did some opportunities that were not provided because of the distancing that had to happen. So we took advantage of as much as we could, getting them out when it was nice to be able to socialize. So I hear you, and I think that some of your ideas as far as what we can look into is good, and I think I will engage the PTO liaison group to get some ideas, and maybe consistently across our elementary schools and potentially our middle schools, we can come up with some ideas that the PTOs could support for honoraria, not just during the school day, but potentially outside the school day to rebuild that. So I appreciate your comments. Thank you. It's because of the people at home, the only way they can hear.
Okay. Shanna Pizzuto, 33 Royal Road. I had this whole speech written, but, again, like everyone else said, thank you for taking away the mask for the next 2 weeks, and we will have to revisit this come the fall. But I do have a question, because I have a kindergartner, and right now he is at his desk, 6 feet apart, and there is only a week and a half left of school, and he picks a box every morning and sits at his desk and plays by himself. Is that what's going to have to happen the next week and a half, or maybe they can get back in the pods or the centers or whatever they used to do? I mean, for the next, 8 days?
I'll look into that for you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'll look into that for you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for letting us know.
Thank you.
Glennie Serafino, 16 Buckingham Way. So I think from everything that's happened, and I think everyone's anger from all the parents is everything the board was asking, you have to understand us. The teachers were like, you have to understand us. And us as the parents never received a, how can we help you? I feel like we did everything on our own, and we were just thrown into this with not having an educational background. And when we asked for help was, well, this is what you have to do. I feel like when we asked you for questions, you were like, well, I just have to give you information of this is the school you have to pay for and this is it. I feel like we didn't get a tutoring thing for our kids, or saying, you know what, the school is going to be doing a tutoring program. How can we help you guys understand our kids that are doing math or reading and they're not understanding? Do you know what it is to pay $85 to $100 an hour for tutoring? It's insane. And then the one thing was, oh, go to Spartica and pay $100 a day for your kids to help you with school, or go to the YMCA. It wasn't helpful for us. And now you're putting us in the place that a lot of parents were, working from home, or a lot of parents that lost a job. And there was no sympathy whatsoever from the school to our parents. Why the parents are upset was because we didn't see the sympathy from your end coming to us. So the part that you guys want us to understand you when you didn't understand us, and that was the reason you received all the emails and all the phone calls, was because there was no type of sympathy whatsoever towards the parents to how to educate our kids, meetings with the parents, how to do things together. We were all going through this together. You didn't have to go at it with knowing how these kids are gonna eat or what parents were able to work for the kids. There was no questions on that. And that's where I think a lot of the parents were upset. Seeing how one family lives, yeah, we live in Freehold, but there's parents that have lost their jobs. There's parents that can't afford things. And assuming was the worst part out of the whole situation. No type of communication with the parents. How can we help you? We didn't receive that. And I'm coming on my end because I have 2 kids, one that needs, and I didn't get any type of help whatsoever in tutoring. I have to pay for it myself. So I just feel like that was like why everybody was so upset about it, and everybody emailed you that way, okay?
So this year, you're correct, with the restrictions in place, we did not offer it, but now that we have grant funds, we are in every school, elementary and middle, besides Spark, and elementary and middle next year, we are putting in programs after school to be able to provide that academic support to all of the students throughout at least next school year, if not the school year after.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
This question?
At the end, it's regarding curriculum, not now.
Okay. Is it an agenda item?
Mm-mm.
If it's not on the specific agenda, you have to wait for the second opportunity. Okay? Okay.
To talk, I just want to tell you that we appreciate the steps and efforts that you are making.
Sorry, can we have your name and address, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. Cheryl Palu, 290 Round Hill Drive, Freehold. I just want to thank you for the efforts that you are making. I do feel that you could, be a little bit stronger, especially regarding coming into September next year. You heard from the parents, I have the same situations with my sons. I had them in the school, I took them out, I homeschooled. The virtual was not working for my boys, just they had their own issues. And I think the computers were also giving them their own, problems. The one thing I decided, my older son, I took him out of school because I didn't want him to have to wear the mask. All he did was chew on it and move it around. It wasn't doing anything, truly. And I homeschooled him for a little while, but the virtual situation didn't work, so I decided to put it back in after Easter break. And come to find out, he's just on the computer almost all day anyway. So that to me is very concerning. I mean, the whole objective is to get you back in the classroom, write, read, paper, books. I know there's new ways to teach, et cetera, but I feel like it's a crutch almost now, because of our situation maybe, the teachers have to accommodate the kids that are virtual. So I feel that that's an issue. And if we're moving into next year, if there is a virtual option, which I hope there is for other parents, that's going to be another, concern of mine to consider. As far as, I just want to, our Constitution of New Jersey, right, states that all political power is inherent in the people. Government is instituted for protection, security, and benefit of all people, and they have a right.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to interrupt you. If this
Yeah.
is not related to the Freehold Township School District
No.
or what is on our agenda this evening,
Yeah.
this is not
Well,
the forum to discuss
I
this.
understand. I just want to remind you that there are laws that if they're not just, we do have the right to object and, firmly, and not sit and just take it from our government, and to just
I
sit
understand
behind.
what your
So
rights
that's
are. I'm
all I
just
wanna
telling you
say.
this is an
I understand.
inappropriate forum to discuss that
I
in.
understand. Thank you.
So, you're welcome.
So just to make those considerations moving forward regarding virtual and of the like. And I'll just talk on curriculum later. Thank you.
And folks, do me a favor, because I really can't hear your names. Please, there's a pen and paper up there. Please write your name and address up there. Otherwise, you may not like what I write, because you might not recognize who you are.
All right, Stephanie Calandrino, 11 Buckingham Way. My question, and I don't know if you have the answer yet, but there's probably been some talk about it, and we thank you for removing the mask the last 8 days of school. However, next year with masks, we don't know, right? Has there been talk about it's going to be mandated for children that aren't vaccinated if the vaccine is out? So,
Right now, the information that we have, there's no connection to the vaccine and communication with us as a school district.
Okay.
And I think part of that is because most of our children, they're not of age that they can even be vaccinated.
But it could happen come September.
Just like you're thinking about, like it could happen, same here. Like I don't know. We haven't gotten any information. Our students won't have that opportunity. It hasn't dropped down yet. I don't know if it will. I know they're saying it might, and then it's still a choice among parents if they choose to
Okay.
do it.
But
We would never. I don't think you're asking this, but as a school district, we have no intention, unless mandated, which I don't think would happen, to require a vaccination for students.
But-
That's a parent's choice.
Okay. But will it then come down to if your child's not vaccinated, you have to wear a mask versus if you're vaccinated, you don't?
I can't answer that only because I don't know what the guidance would. I would hope not. When we get that guidance, we hopefully will have the opportunity to give feedback and have a little more leeway to be able to personalize it for our community and our school district.
Okay.
So it's difficult because we should have had it by now. We should have had it in April. We've been preparing for next school year,
Okay.
scheduling wise and trying to prepare for. We're committed. We're moving forward with a full day with
Okay.
lunch-related arts.
Good.
They are in person already, but a full school day. So we're lacking that information, and I'm sorry I can't answer that for you today.
Okay.
I hope not,
Okay.
is all I can say.
And then my other question, I know Giovanna talked about it too, but with schools being so different this year and the kids missing so much, do you foresee there being restrictions next year on what we can do? Because when you look on Twitter and social media, every school is doing something very different. There was bounce houses at West Freehold today. There was a band concert at Eisenhower. So how is that going to come into play next year? Because, I have 2 young ones, you know that, and they've missed pretty much everything.
At this point, my anticipation is that whatever normal means at this point, I don't anticipate without having any guidance. My hope and anticipation is it would look like last September did, in that we would be back in full operation.
Okay.
That's my hope. That's what I would like to see. And I do understand that different schools are doing different things. Our principals
so
have
who
been
decides that?
We do have meetings and our principals collaborate, so they are doing, in the spirit of doing similar things, but I understand and have seen the same on Twitter.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we encouraged and all agreed to.
It's disappointing, because if your school's not doing anything, it's kind of upsetting.
I understand, and my hope in September is that we don't have to have conversations about restrictions.
Okay. And then one last thing,
Sure.
quick. So I am coming into the PTO next year at Laura Donovan. I would recommend having the PTO meetings sooner than September, because I think there's a lot that
I have it
want to
down.
be discussed, so that would be
I have
my
that down
recommendation.
here. I think it's necessary.
Okay, perfect, that's it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Any other comments for the board? No. Okay, seeing none, I'm going to move on to our Personnel Committee. Ms. Costanza? Oh, and when you move the agenda, we are tabling item number 10.
Okay. So the Personnel Committee met last evening. In attendance was Mr. Amoroso, Mrs. Lambert, Dr. Breathauer, and myself. We reviewed the agenda. We reviewed job descriptions for the lead nurse, the receptionist/office assistant. We briefly spoke about administrator's course reimbursement. And then we spoke about updates on the hiring process for supervisors and the tech secretary. I would like to move the following items. Number 3, retirement. Dan Spacuzza, lead custodian, Donovan Elementary School, 26 years of service. I do want to take a moment and say that I worked probably for 15 years with Dan. He's probably one of the best custodians we've had in the district. He is kind. He has a spotless school, and he was a lot of fun to work with. And I wish you, along with, I'm sure, the board, much success in your future endeavors. Number 4, resignation as listed. Number 5, rescind employment as listed. Number 6, contract renewals as listed. Number 7, new employment. The following people have been appointed positions in the district. Melissa Villi, Yasa Moyoli, Leanne Mercadante, Kelly Fleschner, and Samantha Pace. I would like to personally welcome back Leanne Mercadante. She had been here previously, moved, and is now back. So congratulations to all of you for receiving those positions. Number 8, change of assignment as listed. Change of assignment and salary adjustment. This is actually a pretty big deal. These are basically like promotions. So Marissa Mattis has been appointed the school nurse for the ECLC for next year. Michael Manning, who I've also worked with, is now the lead custodian at Eisenhower Middle School. And Danielle Perella is the now supervisor of instruction at Erickson School. Danielle, I know you're here. You were here? Oh, there you are. Stand up. Congratulations to you all on those great positions. Number 8, change of assignment as listed. Number 9, change of oh wait, I did that already. Sorry, I have the, I know. Okay, number 11, reappointment of the health office assistants as listed. Number 12, job descriptions as listed. Number 13, job description correction as listed. Number 14, stipend teacher assistants as listed. Number 15, district PBS coaches as listed. Number 16, curriculum committee as listed. Number 17, data coach name correction as listed. Number 18, summer computer technicians update as listed. Number 19, summer IEP meetings as listed. Number 20, summer work as listed. Number 21, Spark Summer Program as listed. Number 22, non-certified substitutes, 2020-2021 school year as listed. Number 23, non-certified substitutes, 2021-2022 school year as listed. And that's it. Does anybody have any questions?
Okay, seeing no questions, can I have a second? All in, oh no, we need roll
I'll have
call.
to abstain from number 16.
Is that Mrs. Spellman?
Sorry, calling in from California. I need to abstain from number 16.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Ready for roll call?
Yep, roll call.
Mr. Amoroso? Mrs. Costanza?
Yes.
Mrs. Cozzolino? Mrs. Holtz?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Spellman?
Yes, with the exception of 16.
All right, thank you. Mrs. Vendatoli?
Yes.
Mrs. Patton?
Yes.
Mrs. Lambert?
Yes.
All right, motion passes.
Moving on to curriculum and policy, Ms. O'Sullivan.
The committee met yesterday, and the following people were in attendance: Mr. Dickstein, Mary Cozzolino, and myself. We discussed the agenda items, Regulations 7510, the use of school. I can use lunchroom voice. All right, all items on the agenda, Regulation 7510, use of school facilities, the Safe Return ARP ESSER number 3 plan, Diversity and Inclusion Law, Consortium for Education and Excellence Equity. I would like to now move the following items on the agenda. I would like to move Regulation 7510, use of school facilities, as listed. The approval for teacher practicum, observation, and placements, as listed. Home instruction for students to receive bedside and home instructions, as listed. And that is it for curriculum. Any questions?
Okay. Can I have a second? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Did you get that? Yep.
Thank you.
Moving on to finance.
Okay. I'm just going to jump and do the committee part, and then I'll go back to the assignments and signatories.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Amoroso, for your advice. Okay, we'll just get to it. The Finance and Facilities Committee did not meet this week. I'm going to go and do the Section I, Finance, Appointments, and Signatories. Number 1, legal depositories. The superintendent recommends authorization that the Provident Bank be named as legal depository for funds of the Freehold Township Board of Education for the 2021-2022 school year. Number 2, signatories as listed. Number 3, retirement savings program as listed. Number 4, annual appointments as listed. Number 5, the uniform minimum chart of accounts as listed. Number 6, board attorney. The superintendent recommends approval to appoint the firm of Kenny, Gross, Kovats, and Parton as board attorney per the NJSA 18A 5-1 for the period of July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022 at a cost of $150 per hour. Number 7, labor attorney. Also the appointment of Kenny, Gross, Kovats, and Parton at a cost of $150 per hour. Number 8, special education attorney. The superintendent recommends approval to appoint the firm of the Mikado Law Group as special education attorney for July 1st through June 30th at a cost of $165 per hour. Number 9, auditor, appointing Jump Perry and Company at an approximate cost of $34,000 for the year. Number 10, the tax payment schedule. Can I go, Bob, can I go right into the other stuff?
If you'd like to, you can.
Okay. Number 2, certification. Pursuant to NJAC 6A 23A-16.10C3, the board secretary certifies that as of May 31st, 2021, no budgetary line items account has obligations and payments, contractual orders, which in the total exceeded amount appropriated by the Board of Education pursuant to NJAC 6A22A-16.10A and NJSA 18A22-8 and 18A22-8.1. Number 3, the Secretary and Treasurer's Report. Number 4, bills and claims that were approved by myself. Number 5, travel and related expenses as listed. Number 6, transfers as listed. Number 7, pay stipends as listed. Number 8, consultants as listed. Number 9, school bus emergency evacuation and safety drills as listed. Number 10, toilet room facilities as listed. Number 11, the ESIP payments as listed. Number 12, certification declaration for an extraordinary unidentifiable service health insurance broker as listed. Number 13, approval of extraordinary unidentifiable services health insurance broker. Wait, was that twice? No, okay.
one is the report, and the second one is the actual motion
Got it.
to appoint Gallagher.
14, approved contract with Open Systems Integrators for 2021-2022. 15, approved contract with Dell for 2021-2022. 16, approve the contract with Vancon, Inc. for 2021 through 2022. Number 17, approved contract with Core BTS, Inc. for 2021 through 2022. And that is it for me. Does anybody have any questions? I hope not.
Can I have a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Michelle, I need to abstain on one.
Okay.
Which one do you need to abstain on?
Pace.
All right.
Which one, what number is
Did you
that?
have something?
No, I said aye.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Do you need to abstain?
I can't.
In the regular? Okay.
I'm a no on I for number 8.
Did you get that? 5, 4, and 8.
I for number 8, I'm a no.
And I'm a no on 8 as well, Bob. And I abstained on 7.
Wait a minute, hold on. Hold on. I don't know if we have the votes for 7.
So you guys are on no on the special education attorney and not the other number 8.
Yes, correct, sorry.
There's 1 no on the special attorney, 2 no's. What was the other one she said? So it was aye.
Number 5.
Travel related expenses.
Who's a no or an abstention on number 5?
It was Mrs. Coslino.
No. Jen was a no on 5. I think Mary was for number 5?
Number 8.
Number 8. Okay. I can't hear either. That's why I said to say it out loud.
So
Do you want to repeat it?
If number 8 is no, and what are the other ones you're no to?
That's it.
Okay, thank you.
No, it's not this one.
Yeah. We have to go back to the board office. Okay.
Why should it look different?
Okay. Are there any other noes or abstentions? Do we make sure we're clear on the vote? Then, on the remaining, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Moving back to, I guess, old business, new business. Again, just going to remind everybody, we have to pick a date for our retreat. So we'll hope to do that this week so we can post it for the public posting. What?
When you're done, I have some.
Go ahead, you can go.
I just wanted to remind, sorry, I just wanted to remind the board that we sent a correspondence on June 9th at 7:30. Eisenhower Chorus, Stardust, and Back in Black will be performing. The 14th at 6 o'clock, the Barcelo Band will be performing. Our graduation for 8th grade,
Wait, what was the second one?
the 14th, Monday the 14th at Barcelo.
At 7 o'clock?
6 o'clock is Barcelo Band. The 16th is our 8th grade graduation ceremonies. 4 o'clock for Barcelo, 7 o'clock for Eisenhower at Freehold Township High School. Our rain date is the 17th at the same times. And for those who aren't aware or care, each year we rotate. So the middle school, that's 4 o'clock this year, or 7 o'clock the following year, and so on.
Okay. Okay.
Neil, you forgot the movie.
The what?
Lion King will be released
Oh,
as
thank
the
you.
Barcelo production on Friday.
Okay. Okay, anything else? I just wanted to, before we move on to the next part of public participation, I saw many of you object when I did cut some people off before. You have to understand this is a Board of Education meeting, and while it is a public meeting, and I am a constitutional purist, so I respect the First Amendment, your public comments here have to be related to the business of this school district. In that regard, this meeting is limited. It is not a forum to take on any political undertaking you may take. So in that regard, I would need to cut you off and limit your comments to the business of the school district and the students only, or administration, anything involving our district. So with that, I'd like to move on to the second opportunity for public participation of any kind.
Do I have to restate my name? Cheryl Palu, 290 Round Hill Drive.
Please sign in.
I'm sorry?
Please sign in.
Oh.
Thank you.
Okay.
Before we start, I just want to remind everybody your comments need to be limited to 3 minutes and should not be abusive, obscene, or defamatory in nature.
Okay. I'm here to discuss the new Inclusive and Diversity Bill that was passed into law March of 2021. That is in line with now the new 2020 New Jersey Learning Standards. The laws that were recently passed by Governor Murphy, one back in January of 2019, I think forced the school districts to teach children about gender, sexual identity, sexual orientation, sexual rights as young as kindergarten now. Why do we want to cause our young children to question their gender identity or cause undue stress and confusion? This doesn't make sense to me. It appears the intent is to force a state-mandated ideology onto our children, hiding underneath the cloak of inclusion and anti-bullying. I think we should just teach our children to respect each other, behave kindly and compassionately toward others, regardless of differences, follow our SOAR for 4. I think our school does strive to do that, but these laws, I feel, are violating parental rights and religious liberty. I mean, you cannot legislate behavior. It doesn't work. Let us uplift our children and point out their strengths. Stop defining them by their sexuality, but by who they are as a person. You have the authority and discretion on what, how much, where the subject matter will be placed in curriculum. The language of the law is clear, in an appropriate place. You define the appropriate place. Health is the only option I see, so parents have a choice to opt their children out. Discussions on gender, sexual identity, and lifestyles, family life are not the school's responsibility, nor it should be. It's a violation of our rights, religious liberty, God chose me to parent my children, not the state. It is my fundamental right to direct their upbringing. The state continually exerts their power, gets in between the parent and child, and the school boards sometimes go along in many cases. For example, this board adopted in 2019 Transgender Policy 5756. It's a violation of parent rights over minor children. It states the school district shall accept a student's asserted gender identity. Parental consent is not required. A student need not meet any threshold diagnosis or treatment requirements. There is no affirmative duty for any school district staff member to notify a student's parent or student's gender identity or expression. You're complicit. I believe you're complicit if damage caused by a child, allowing them to make life-altering decisions that which they cannot possibly comprehend the consequences of such decisions. How is it that a school nurse cannot give a student an aspirin without parental consent, yet you'll placate a student suffering from gender dysphoria? This is a huge issue. It's not simple. I request a
Ms. Palou, I have
moratorium
to
on this
tell you that
policy.
your time is up right now. I'm sorry.
Well, I request a moratorium on this policy so that it could be reviewed. It does more harm than good. I do have others to say. I'll just give you a copy of my notes. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. A couple of things just to clarify, because I understand that not everybody who's not involved in education understands the procedures, so I just want to make them clear. First, some policies are mandated, meaning they're law and we're required to adopt them as a board. They are actually law, and if you do not adopt them, you're held accountable. The second thing is, as far as the standards, I just want to clarify those. I read the diversity and inclusion. I just want to clarify one thing for you. And I did point out to our county ed specialist there is conflict. I just want you to understand, I know you're more, just because I know you're more familiar. Regardless of what that says, the standards for the 2020 phys ed, comprehensive health and phys ed standards will not be implemented in this district until September 2022. So I understand what that bill says, but we are not prepared to do that. We don't have people working on that curriculum. So that component of it will not be implemented until September 2022. What you're saying regarding the rest, it is broad, and we haven't looked at it. The Commissioner of Education is supposed to provide guidance. Legislators, who are not educators, pass bills that become law, and then the Department of Education needs to interpret them and provide us guidelines. We have not gotten guidelines yet. So I hear you, because the bill says kindergarten through 12th grade. It's not clear, and I don't have clarity at this point, but I hear you and I understand what you're saying.
Frank Brooks again.
Mr. Brooks, can you do me a favor? I had trouble hearing you before. It's not a good
not
location.
a problem. Yep,
Thank you.
no problem.
Thank you.
I did. I have more of a question. There's not too much of a chance of Governor Murphy not being governor another term, and he has publicly stated his support for some very controversial things, such as critical race theory, 1619 project, as well as the LGBTQ curriculum. My question for you really is, how much autonomy do you as the Board of Education actually have as far as doing it? You mentioned before, if something is passed through as law, you have to do it under penalty. What penalties?
It's a good question. Let me answer the first part, and then I'll answer the
Sure.
penalty part. The first part is, what happens is the State Board of Education publishes student learning standards, and they give us those standards. So by this grade, this standard must be addressed. Our autonomy is how we address it, but it still needs to meet the standard that's provided. That, combined with your other question on what happens if we don't implement, we have state monitoring, and we lose points on that monitoring and could be subject to corrective action plans.
As in?
Implement what we are supposed to implement.
Right, I mean, what is the actual penalty? Now, I know.
Oh, I'm sorry.
before already.
It's a point
Yes.
system. So our monitoring is 4 different areas. It's called QSAC. You can look it up, QSAC, and there's different criteria, and every different piece of criteria is assigned a point value. When you don't meet that area, and we have no control over not our student achievement, it's student growth. So we have no control over that area. They tell us how many points we get. If we can't show proof of those other things, we lose additional points and run risk of not being an effective school district as designated by the department, and also having to write a corrective action plan, which the expectation would be on the state to implement what you didn't implement.
Again, that doesn't seem to say what is the actual penalty. Like, for instance, I know
the penalty is we don't pass monitoring.
the state has no problem pulling funds from us and putting it elsewhere, even as a punitive way, because we're not voting in a certain situation, and they'll easily just cut funds with no real explanation. So again, we have schools, kids are learning to read and write, they're learning mathematics, they're not learning whatever this controversial curriculum is, whatever it may end up being on that. What is the actual real penalty? Because, I mean, the point system, whatever, fine. What does that mean? Does that mean
We wouldn't pass monitoring, and eventually
What does
it
that
could-
exactly mean? Like, what does that
we would be
entail?
It's a painful process. It takes days, weeks, months of your time sometimes to prepare it, and if you don't pass, they continue to come back and ask for more, and they look deeper and deeper and deeper.
and eventually they can withhold state
They
aid.
will do it for you.
Well, they can withhold state aid whenever they want. We just proved that the last couple of years. They can just turn around and say, we don't care how many taxes you pay for these schools, we're taking $35 million away,
Yes.
you're not getting that. So,
They eventually
You
can
know.
they can eventually take state control
They
of a
can
district.
remove employees from the district, they can remove administrators, they can
Mhm.
pull administrators' certifications,
Mhm.
and then they would not be employed. You know, you're a branch of a governmental entity, whether you like it or not, whether we agree or disagree with certain mandates. If a mandate is law, it is contrary to this board or this administration to go against that for the very specific reasons. At the end of the day, the state will come in and do what is mandated regardless.
And
The
it's-
only thing you've done in the process by violating that mandate is hurting the multitudes of families in Freehold Township. Don't forget, if they do pull state aid, you're affecting every family in this town, families who are hard hit during COVID, who are having a hard time paying their property taxes to begin with. Do you think they want their taxes to go up? You're talking about things that, you know, are divisive in a district insofar as not everyone may agree with how you feel having these items in or out of a curriculum. These aren't clear-cut answers.
well, my
There,
point
it's a
was really,
gray
my
area.
question was only what actual power would you have as far as implementing it? Not so far as to say pro and con of it, but my whole thing was, you know, obviously it's a law as opposed to being recommendation. I'm just curious to know what your limits of your power is as a school board, as what sort of control we have as far as curriculum, what's going into it, and what our.
We
input
have
would
to
be into
address
that.
the standards.
So-
How we address the standard is our discretion, but the standard has to be addressed. One point I wanted to make for Mrs. Palou and also for you, Mr. Brooks, is the New Jersey Student Learning Standards are approved by the State Board of Education. Their meetings are still virtual. They had one today. But if you look up New Jersey State Board of Education, you will have the, so that is I think that, I believe the governor appoints the members of the State Board of Education, but the Commissioner of Education also sits at those meetings. And that would be the place during public participation. That's your place where, prior to getting to us where we have to do it, that's the place for comment. So I encourage you, if you have feedback about those standards or anything like that, to find when those meetings are and participate, and I believe they're virtual right now.
Thank you very much, I
You're welcome.
appreciate it. That was
No problem.
helpful.
George Falcone, 510 East Freehold Road. I just want to kind of address a little bit the mindset and the way this whole thing is set up from a parent's perspective. We, the parents, are supposed to be the main voice behind what is taught to our children, how it's taught, right? What is acceptable and what's not acceptable. I'm hearing a couple of times this leaning towards, I don't want to say hiding behind, But really, like, when you say you have no choice, you have to follow rules, you have, like, we're the voice of our community. We decide where children get taught, what they're taught. And, you know, for you to say, oh, I have to, at what point does that end? Where you say, I have to listen to Trenton. Where does that end? Because in my mind, you have an obligation, and I said to you directly, to follow an unlawful, harmful order. You have an obligation not to do that, right? You have an obligation not to do that.
Mr.
All right?
Falcone, can I just interrupt you? It is your opinion that it was an unlawful, harmful order. It is not everybody's opinion. So to insert into this school board or Mr. Dickstein that he was not doing something correctly by following the law is wrong. You follow the speed limit because if you don't, there's a consequence. Other people might feel the proper speed limit should be 65 miles per hour.
Well, there's not even a debate allowed to be happen,
area-
though. Like, I have so much information that you blow your mind,
that this
right?
is, but
So-
I've explained to you, you can argue with your legislators, you can bring it there, but to bring it to Mr.
I wasn't even
Dickstein,
speaking
you know,
directly to that point. I was speaking in a general mindset, right? We voted you there, Ms. Lambert. We voted you there. You're there because we said you can be there. We can take you out. Right? Hold on, I'm not
and
done.
you know what?
I'm
I
not-
will tell
I
you
am
this
not-
much.
I'm
When
not
it is
done.
your
Please don't
time to
interrupt.
vote, exercise your vote.
I will. Believe me. Trust me, I will. But listen, Mr. Dickstein, you told me in an email your only boss is the board. No, it's not. We're your boss. We voted them. They hired you. We can replace them and fire you. Right? That's the mindset that should be in place. We are in control of our children's education, not you.
You're mistaken, and I don't disagree with your philosophy that you're saying. The state has laws that govern restaurants, that govern from health departments. I am not in control. I'm the superintendent of the school district where my children attend. I don't have the control over what they are taught. By law, we are required to teach the New Jersey Student Learning Standards, and parents' voice comes into play when those standards are proposed at the State Board of Education level. It's not up for my interpretation or my opinion in any way.
Maybe points and money aren't the most important thing sometimes.
It's not about money, it's the law. It's the law.
Some laws are meant to be broken, right?
I'm sorry, I can't abide
With all
by
due respect,
that.
and listen, I respect your all service, I respect your leadership, and please don't take this as any disrespect. It's my obligation as a parent to speak my mind, and I just feel like I need to do that. I respect all your service, and I respect you, Mr. Dickstein, and your service. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to address the board? Okay. Okay.
Hello, my name is Maggie Gerges, 5 Summer Drive, Freehold. Thank you for your time and the opportunity to speak today. First of all, I want to say that I'm very proud of the parents of the Freehold Township for standing up and, trying to protect your children and being their voice. I'm here today because I am a mother of 3. I have a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 6-year-old whom attended West Freehold until the end of December 2020, where my husband and I decided to pull them out of the district. I pulled them out of the district for several reasons. I'm only going to state 2 of them. The first one is I felt that the educational curriculum was lacking. The Bridges math program is, I thought, very weak. Up until last year, we didn't even have a workbook. Next is the non-existent spelling curriculum. I was asking for 4 years since my kid was in kindergarten, why aren't they learning any spelling? And every teacher said it's just not part of the curriculum. And this has forced me and other parents to supplement, but not every parent can supplement. Additionally, there was the constant use of Chromebooks. They were on Chromebooks for the majority of the day, even on homework. So I felt that was taking away from their skills, just to hold a pen and paper and open up a book. The second reason is as the other parents were saying, it was the LGBTQ learning standards, which was passed by Governor Murphy. Several parents and myself met with Mr. Dickstein and his team before the shutdown, and we were asking how they were planning to implement and if they were going to give the parents an opt-out solution. I felt that the answers we received were unclear and very wishy-washy, and I felt that they were taking away from my First Amendment rights, which I'd like to read to you just as a reminder for all of us. The First Amendment says that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech, press, or right of the people to petition, to assemble, and to petition the government for a ready redress of grievances. I'm here to peacefully assemble a petition for all of you to redress these learning standards and give us an opt-out solution. Every parent has a right to teach their children about sexuality on their own terms, on their own beliefs. This indoctrination of these topics without the parents' knowledge is unconstitutional. And I just want to say, an example of this was in October of 2019, West Freehold celebrated Rainbow Day. When I asked why the children were asked to wear rainbow, the principal at the time said it was a day just to wear different colors. I came to find out that was National Coming Out Day. The parents did not know about this, they were not privy to this, and the kids were wearing colors not knowing why. This is indoctrination. I pulled my kids out because I will not allow my children to be indoctrinated and go against my personal beliefs. Just the way the state gave you guys guidelines how to reopen post, during the pandemic, you have the authority to push this curriculum in as you feel fit for Freehold. You know Freehold better than Governor Murphy, and that's why you're sitting there. And it is your job to represent Freehold. I am asking you to go back to the basics. Let the kids be
Ms.
kids.
Giergis, I'm sorry, your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll allow Mr. Dickstein to address it first.
The Rainbow Day was an extreme leap in understanding of West Freehold as house colors, and they wear their house colors regularly, once a month on a Friday, and it was a coincidence. Nobody connected it to Rainbow Day or even was aware until there was a concern brought forward, and I addressed that at the time. Again, we have not implemented any of the legislation for the LGBTQ students with disabilities. It's all one diversity and inclusion bill. I explained that this was very early. So yes, the answers are still wishy-washy. We don't have the guidance. We haven't done the work. It's not happened yet. That's the rationale behind why there's no answers. The work has not been done, and it's not for implementation until next school year. And as far as spelling, we have purchased a phonics and phonemic awareness program, comprehensive for K2. And beginning next school year in grade 3, we'll be implementing, as children move up from grade 3 into the upper grades, a word study program, which is aligned with spelling. It's just word, history, and spelling combined, and vocabulary. Go ahead.
Bring back cursive writing. Okay. Yeah. If you have a comment, please come to the podium so that the parents at home can hear and it can be recorded properly. You have to go to the podium.
Yeah, I just wanted to
Can you put
ask.
the microphone closer?
I know this, I can't. Oh, there we go. That's better. Okay, thanks. Regarding curriculum, the reason why I wanted to bring it up early, and Neil, we sat, and Ms. Brothauer, and we sat about a year and a half ago, is because I want to be in front of this issue, not behind it. And I feel many occasions, we're behind the 8 ball all the time, and we're trying to, change things after they already happened. So I just wanted to put that out there, that I think parents want to understand what's going to be implemented, how it looks before it's done. And if there's a way that we can bring in parents to really take a look at how things are going to be. I'm happy that this is not going to be implemented until September 2022.
The health and comprehensive
right.
standards, correct.
But the other
The
history,
diversity inclusion bill.
yes, that's 2022. But the history and disabilities bill is this year.
So the New Jersey Student Learning Standards for Health and Phys Ed are September 2022.
Right.
Which is part of the diversity inclusion bill, but
Yes.
that it will not, that component of it
Mhm.
will not go until September 2022. The other parts of the diversity inclusion bill and I don't know the name of the other one, but I know to what you're referring, the
Yeah.
history component of it will be in September 2021. And when I was
Right.
questioned about it, I did make the commitment that prior to the beginning of the school year, when it is completed, that I will communicate with our parent community prior to the beginning of the school year.
Right. So, exactly. So that, again, it's in the law says where appropriate you have the authority to put it and minimize it, probably history, social studies, I would think. And again, I just want to be part of, the implementation in a sense, or, decision-making process. I don't know if there is even a parent committee or that can work with the board when it comes to curriculum. I think parents today are more aware of things that are going on, and I think they really do want to be engaged. The pandemic kind of squashed a lot of that, so I just wanted to add that.
And it was a disappointment to us that we could not, this district welcomes parents into the schools, and it was not, we were disappointed that we had to eliminate visitors this year as well, and looking forward to regaining
Right.
that involvement again next year.
Yeah, us too. Thank you.
Also, we did receive several emails requesting the Community Relations Committee to be reactivated, and we are going to work on that, and there will be parental involvement in that. So
Okay.
if there are concerns brought forth, with regard to some of the specific curriculum concerns, I'm going to reiterate what Mr. Dickstein said, that the State Board of Education is your starting point. Understand the Establishment Clause. You can take the lemon test 7 ways to Sunday, and at the end of the day, when someone's core value system is rooted in a religious belief, a school cannot foster that opinion either. The Establishment Clause prevents neither.
Yes. Exactly.
Religious belief, it's really meant for true conscious. So, you can, if you start with the State Board of Education, I would advise you to go there, look at the Third Circuit case for Black Horse Pike, look at some of their analysis there, and you'll know where your legislators are leading, where your judiciary is leading. And if you start there, you would have less problems here.
Yeah. Yes.
That's the best
I
advice I
understand
can
that.
give you at
Been
this
there.
point.
Been there. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to address the board? No? Okay. Seeing no one, I want to announce for the parents and community members viewing from home that we are going to go into executive session shortly, and when we come back from executive session, the live stream will be turned off. There is going to be no action taken after the executive session, so people who are here present, you're welcome to stay till the end of the meeting, but know that no further action will be taken. So for the people at home, although there's no live stream, you're not missing anything else going forward. So at this point, this board needs to go into executive session, whereas pursuant to NJSA 10-412B, the Board of Education may exclude the public from that portion of a public meeting in which the board discusses matters prescribed in NJSA 10-412B 1 through 9. Now therefore, be it resolved that in accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Act, the Board of Education shall conduct a closed session pursuant to the personnel and legal exceptions prescribed by NJSA 10-412 for the purpose of discussing personnel, non-affiliated contracts, and pending or anticipated contract negotiations regarding the architect RFP. It is anticipated that the length of time of this executive session will be approximately 2 hours. 2 hours, and that no further action will be taken at the end of the 2 hours. Go us. What?
All right, Mrs. Spellman.
Maybe.
Have a good evening. We're going to let
Thank
you go
you.
now, okay?
Sorry. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I'm a strict meeting
Okay.
holder, so I apologize for my,
Bye-bye.
I do what I have to do. No, it's just that there's an appropriateness. Right. And I've said to people time and time again, you know, and I'm not lying when I say, me, I'm an anti-masker. Just saying. Sitting in this seat, I can't be that person.
July 1 is a new school year, so that's when that would, we'd get that guidance. Too late.
Right.
But,
I'll open. Yeah. No, no, it's fine. I enjoy the open dialogue.
No problem.
No, and that's why I'm sure people will not vote me